This might be the craziest Marvel news we've ever gotten, because Kevin Feige just confirmed that Avengers Secret Wars is going to reset the MCU. He talked about recasting Captain America and Iron Man, if Miles Morales will show up in the MCU, and so much more. We gotta get into all of this. All of this comes from 2 new interviews dropped by Variety with Kevin Feige, and we're gonna be going step by step through all these interviews because it's absolutely insane. So first of all, he was talking about the fact that Secret Wars will be more of a beginning for the MCU, whereas Endgame was an ending, and he said it's not gonna be a reboot, more so a reset. The exact quote was, "Reboot is a scary word. It can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Reset, a singular timeline, we're thinking along those lines." He later confirmed that yes, X-Men is where that will happen next. We're going to see an entirely new cast of the X-Men, possibly introduced in Secret Wars, but definitely after Secret Wars. What's crazy is that while he was talking about the fact that yeah, we're going to have a new X-Men cast, he also hinted at the fact that we will eventually see a new Iron Man and Captain America recast in the MCU, presumably. He says that all these other studios are doing the same thing with like a new James Bond and a new Superman, and he says it will simply always be the case. We're going to see these characters with new actors again. And he literally admits that it's going to be hard to see other actors in these roles that Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans were so iconic as, but he says it's not an impossible task. Then they asked about like, hey, are we going to see Deadpool and Wolverine going forward more, since you're going to kind of be doing this like soft reset? And he says, I think there's more fun to be had with those characters, but we'll see where. There's infinitely more to talk to, but I want to kind of break down what we just went over. I'm so glad that he's confirmed, yes, we're going to be going down to like a singular timeline in the MCU. We're going to be done with the multiverse. I think the big question that we have to ask about this is Marvel going to be resetting back to the main MCU timeline, or is the MCU going forward going to be taking place in an entirely new timeline with only a few of our returning characters, like a Spider-Man coming over? Like, it honestly would kind of make a lot of sense if maybe the MCU ends up in like the Fantastic Four's alternate universe, assuming that world doesn't get destroyed in their movie. Give an update on the Blade movie. Apparently this is still happening, because he says we've landed on a modern day setting for the film. That's what we're focusing on. He goes on to say we didn't want to put a leather outfit on him and have him start killing vampires. You can start production with a good script and make it great as you're filming the movie, but he didn't want to do that with Blade. Like I said, there was a second interview with Kevin Feige, and he went into even more details about the future of the MCU, and he says that there now is a 7-year plan going to 2032. He confirmed with a lot of insider reports we're seeing a few months ago that there's going to be a lot less Marvel TV going forward. Maybe some years there's only going to be like one live action TV show, and they're going to be a lot more disconnected from the movies. He gave a specific example talking about the Thunderbolts. Obviously in this movie we see the Void kind of taking over a portion of New York, sending a lot of the population into the Void itself. So he was asked about, oh, are we going to see that explored in like Daredevil Born Again, that also takes place in New York City? And he simply just said no. One way it's kind of disappointing that like major events happening in a city are not going to be acknowledged in TV shows taking place in the same city, but it also does make sense because like, yeah, you got to keep these stories a little bit separate. It seems like they're going back to the Netflix formula of just having the shows be completely kind of on their own. The article did ask, well, hey, like John Bernthal's going to be returning as the Punisher in Spider-Man, and he says, hey, where we have great actors playing great characters, I think it would be fun to see them in multiple places, but the output will be much less. They even asked him like, hey, what's going to happen with the Young Avengers happening as a film, maybe a TV series, is anything happening? And he just said potentially. In that case, it comes down to where is the best story and where is the best strange alchemy, who would be fun to see with who. So it seems like he's really focusing in on that James Gunn mindset of, hey, we're going to focus on getting a good script first, and then we'll go ahead and make these movies. We're not just going to make a film because of the characters we want to jam into it. He did give us an update on Miles Morales, which is honestly a little surprising to hear what he had to say. They asked him about the potential of Miles Morales showing up in the MCU in the near future, and he said that it's simply nowhere until Sony Pictures, obviously they're the ones that hold the rights to all these different Spider-Man characters, until they complete their animated Spider-Verse trilogy in 2027. Feige says they've been told to straight up stay away from Miles Morales. A lot of people thought with the casting of Liza Colon-Zayas in Spider-Man Brand New Day that this is going to be a teaser, like, oh, maybe she's going to be like Rio Morales, the mom to Miles Morales. This could still be the case, just setting up for down the line, but it seems not likely that we're going to see him in the MCU until at least like 2028, which would be lining up right with this new kind of like quote-unquote reset. He also kind of talked about superhero fatigue and how audiences just are not interested in Marvel movies anymore because of how interconnected they were with TV shows. Like, he said Thunderbolts, which he thought was a very, very good movie, but he says nobody knew the title and many of those characters were from a TV show, so audiences still probably thought like, hey, I probably had to see these to watch the movie, even though that wasn't the case. So he says going forward, it's very important that they make that very clear to audiences that, hey, these movies you can just go and watch on their own. You don't need to have all this homework to understand it. That coincides with what Feige said about the Fantastic Four First Steps. He says it's our 37th MCU film and really the first standalone setting up its new established universe. There's no homework required. Everything you need to know about the Fantastic Four you learn within the first 10 minutes of this movie. So between this comment about the Fantastic Four and what he said earlier about Avengers Secret Wars resetting the MCU to one singular timeline, I really think there's a huge possibility we are going to be moving to a brand new timeline in the future of the MCU going forward. allow them to make pretty much every new movie be kind of standalone because hey, it's in this brand new universe. There is no homework required for any of the films. Like everybody can just have a new origin or a new appearance, like the X-Men that we know they're getting rebooted. And the director of the Fantastic Four also said like, hey, yeah, the movie had to be set in an alternate universe for continuity purposes because we would have heard about these characters if they were in the MCU in the same timeline. I know this seems a lot smaller than everything else we were talking about, but I also want to throw in here that Matt Shakman, the director of the Fantastic Four First Steps, confirmed that the Russo brothers directed both post-credit scenes for the movie. We obviously know they did the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, so this is heavily going to tie into Doomsday. Probably we're going to see Doctor Doom in it. This entire interview really gives me a ton of confidence in the MCU going forward because Kevin Feige literally took it on his own shoulders and is like, hey, I got to get out here and give a huge public interview just telling people about everything that went wrong in the MCU lately, how we're planning to fix it, their entire plan for the future. It's a really admirable strategy, honestly. And I'm really curious to see how this all plays out in Avengers Secret Wars, resetting down to one timeline. Like, I'm sure the major players like Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Shuri's Black Panther and this new Fantastic Four cast, I'm sure they're all gonna be in the MCU going forward, but who knows who might be left behind or killed off in these movies. Like, I don't know, are we gonna be seeing Sam Wilson and characters like that coming over? Are we gonna be seeing a new Steve Rogers recast? It's gonna be really interesting. If you want to see the first reviews for the Fantastic Four First Steps, click the video above my head right now. They're pretty crazy.